So, section 2, the the middle section of section 2, which is 11 feet. All the sections are around, 10, let's just say average 10 feet. Now, I've been away from this for a while, as you know, because I've been working on the tug build, which now takes the place of Silver Creek, which I completed just a little while back. And I just want to mention something about that too. Like, sometimes, I'll just speak about me, like on this issue. I won't try to convey, my kind of modeling philosophy into anybody else. I'll just tell you where I go with things sometimes. Sometimes I go off on tangents, or I got a sort of funny, unorthodox style in the way I work on projects. Like right where you see this wood mock-up here, I'll talk about this in a bit in this scene. And I'll also take you to the prototype scene just to give you some context as to what I'm planning in this area, okay? But let me just mention this first. So sometimes I'll go off on a tangent and I'll build a model. Like originally there was the diner, which is a really cool model, which really is going to get pushed down the tracks onto probably section 3 now, because I was sort of forcing my hand with it in here, because in this sort of section here that you see, I was wanting to build sort of part of New West, which is a good idea. But the idea is that it would bleed out onto the parking lot there, and you'd have this sort of urban square with the tracks going by with the diner, and it would be a neat scene, right? Like this is part and parcel of the problem of having a canvas that's maybe limited, in the sense you want to maximize the area to your vision, to what you want to see and how it fits into the the greater scheme of things, like the whole layout, for example. Like this layout definitely has a a kind of a nautical feel, and then you got the industry there with Axton Steel. A lot of you are pretty familiar with, the River Road by now, but you can see that, there's the kind of warehouse district there, and then there's the marina off to the left, which there's lots of coverage on that in previous content. So I want to still maintain a little bit of an industrial feel here, because SRY is very much like that. And then the idea, like originally, was, before I sort of edited the things in the theater of my mind, or how we imagineer and visualize our layout taking shape and coming into form, was I was going to have the locomotive shops down in the corner there, just right of Dusty, like the picture of Dusty there, down in that corner. But that's going to be Ipex Plastics, which you'll get an idea for that again when I just show you a clip of video from the prototype location. So I have another section 3, and section 4 option as well. So I still have plenty of linear space to develop River Road. But what I want to do here is I want to put this warehouse, it's not really a warehouse, it's sort of an industrial cinder block building. And I want to capture that feel that you see in the photo just above the wood mock-up there, because I built the overpass as the actual prototype that you see. It looks like it's going across that building, but it's not. It's hard to say. Well, actually, no, it's not. I think the building was there before the overpass was, because the overpass is not that old, really. But it almost looks like they cut the building away, or designed it to fit, or the overpass was engineered to go over top of it like that. But it's actually a little bit past the corner of the building there. But I want to start with this sort of wedding cake stacking like composition. Like I think I've mentioned this before. Like this is like approximately 2 feet deep, which is the maximum I like to go when I build a shelf layout like this. But I like to build up like foreground here. Like see this road, the lowest point here, like this little road takes your viewer in, and then you got your track and trains, and then you have a lower building, and then a higher building, and then maybe trees, and then your backdrop. Like I like to think of it that way. I've mentioned this before, like composing in depth, like stepping up, right? I've mentioned about having a, like an abstruse building in the way up front. That works too, but that's up to the individual and how you compose the scene. But I want this area here to be quite open. And I want that, the overpass is obviously up front. A little bit further down, you can see it just sort of cuts off right there. So that's kind of in your face, right? But it's okay though, because I can look through it, right? Okay? I can look through the columns here and stuff and still see the railroad from over here. And so it doesn't matter where I am at the front of the face sheet here, I can still see the railroad and see what's happening. And then you'll see a lot of the locomotives running back and forth here when I'm switching IPEX plastics. Like, that's the idea. Just to quickly mention before I go into the prototype location clip. So it's going to be the grain elevator Milner, and then probably the locomotive shops. Like, that's yet to be worked out. And I have some other ideas as well, but that's further on. But isn't that the exciting part of building a layout? Is having that luxury to imagineer your railroad. So let's just go to this location right here, and I'll be standing right about this area. And I wanted to show you a video pan and just mention a few things about this particular scene, which is sort of being pasted into River Road. Like, even though there's a vast distance between where my hand is and here. So this is shift from Annacis Island, and then we shift over out to Langley kind of thing. I mean, that's the way it is, right? How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Okay, so here's the actual building, and I'm live on location. I'll just give you a quick rundown on how I think through a situation like this. So see, this building is the choice of this building flat that I want to model. So I'm only interested in this part here that skirts the overpass, okay, which is already built, right? And then this foreground, and then of course, the track here, which is a bit different on the layout, but that doesn't matter, because this is the interest of the subject at hand right now. So I'm not going to model this whole building. I mean, that would eat up 25 feet of shelf layout, and it would just kill the whole deal, right? I mean, we don't have that kind of space. That's why we compress. So this is a good example of linear compression. So if you look down the far end of that building, I don't need any of that building up till about where the vent is right there. Okay, I'm going to build my model of the flat up to this vertical pilaster. Okay, and then I'll probably model in this utility pole as well, which will make a nice little foreground feature to add a little extra depth to an otherwise flat building. And then I'll just move in because I want to show you a couple of little details that I'm going to add, or I can even revise or reposition, that we often overlook as modelers, and because we think they're insignificant, but they actually add character and tell a story about the building, like the history, I mean. Okay, so see how that door's been blocked in? Okay. And then if you look over by these ties, you'll see there's another one there just past that pilaster to the right of it. So there was a door there, some kind of a service door, and a door here. Now they're not fire escapes, or I doubt they were. Why would they brick them in, especially with today's code? So I don't know the history of them. And then I'll just take you down here just to show you a couple things. So notice all the blackberry and the bush growing up here, right? Like last year, this was all cleared out of here, so I don't know who cuts it. Maybe the railroad does. Now see the vent right there? So if that vent is not in my model, I can take that vent and that conduit box to the right of it, there on one, and I can just move it and I can plant it right here. See? So I can move some of those details there, okay? And then there's a nice feature right there, just the yellow guards on those guide wires, which has been a nice splash of yellow. Then I'll just show you down here, there's a bit of a ditch down here, okay? And the ties is what really gets my attention. It really speaks railroad. And then of course the main industry is to the right, which will be Ipex Plastic. So this will be the approach to it, and I think it'll make a nice stand-in building for now anyway. And you can see the overpass there, okay? Okay, so you sort of get the picture, right? Let me just jump off the tripod here and just move around just a little bit, just to give you a little bit better view of things. So this was actually the first area that I modeled when I began the layout, because it was right where my bench is. Like you can sort of see I worked down here, and then I just wanted it to be an inspiration every time I came to my workbench. So that's why I did that. And then you can see there the house. That's in development. This sort of gives a little bit of a rural touch, being sort of engulfed by nature. You know, there'll be more trees back there, but that's kind of the idea there. So this is where the building's going to go, and I haven't decided. Like you can sort of see the return on the building here, or this sort of secondary level, like in the photo. So this building's not going to be the exact same size, because this is a huge building again, right? There's parking lot on the other side. But I do want to capture this, this railroady feel. Like this is really cool. Like this just happened a few months ago. So it really, it actually tells a story that, well, they just replaced all these ties. And if this is the only industry in the area, they must have got a new contract. Otherwise, why would they do that? Like they're not going to pour money into track maintenance unless they have a viable industry to service, right? But anyway, so I just want to capture the feel. The track plan is obviously different, but I want to capture this feel. Let me just slip over to this side here, excuse the shadow. So I'll be able to look through here, see? That's what I want too. I want to be able to be like I'm walking around here like I do on the location. And, see, and then when I'm looking down here to the right, that's going to be Ipex Plastic. I'm going to model part of that industry as not a flat facade, but more of a quarter view. Which will be really cool, I think, for this corner anyway. So that's the idea, right? And that's why I built the overpass a little while back. And if you want to see that clip, I'll just put the, the vlog number up there for you. So you can go to those particular episodes. You can see how I built that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, even though it took me quite a while to settle the score here. But I'm glad I slept on it for a few months, because sometimes that's what it takes, right? You got to sleep on things for a long while. And rather than build up from the background to the foreground. I'm going to use that building, and then I can put something in behind. Like I can maybe indicate, more kind of urban sort of development in behind it. But that's kind of where I'm going right now, I think. And I want to dive into another building here, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I think there'll be some good lessons in it as well. Primarily the primary lesson is never underestimate a simple building and how effective it can be for your model railroad, okay?